2023.
2023. Hi, everyone. It's Sister Elizabeth, and I'm here with Sister Liz Sjoberg, and we are 2023 starting again a new year.
Happy New
Even
Year,
though
everybody.
Happy New Year of the Daughters of Charity podcast in the company of charity. You've heard it before. It's the same one. We're doing great. We hope you are too. It's a new year. It's a new year. We're just so excited.
Do I sound a little bit better, more
Well,
clear
I was
to
gonna
you?
waiting for you to say we,
New year, new me. New year, new
yeah,
tech.
it's amazing. We got Christmas gifts, right? And that was, and so people were a little tired of listening to the sound that we had. And so Sister
We're
Liz,
stepping it up here.
oh yeah, yeah. I have to say, she's got the gaming headset.
Mm.
I do have the operator's headset. It's like a 911 headset, I think, so yeah. But we got the sounds now. We got the sounds. I think
We're headed
yeah.
in a big direction here,
That's right.
little by
That's right. As
little.
long as we can keep our internet on and our sounds going, we are going to be here for you, the listeners, for sure. So, as we said, this is In the Company of Charity, the podcast of the Daughters of Charity. And yeah, we just love being in company with you, the listeners. I love being in company with my co-host, and we
Mm-hmm.
just love being in the company of our guests each time the podcast comes. And we have a really cool episode today for all of you that Sister Liz did. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that before we get into a couple of other things?
Yeah, so you're going to hear from Yazmine Cajuste, who is just a gem, a real knowledgeable about the community, about what's going on in the Vincentian family throughout the world, and just has had a wealth and breadth of experiences that really help us to see the global character of our charism. And so I don't want to spoil anything. She's just got a great story and so many cool experiences that she's going to share in this interview. And so Yazmine, if you're listening, thank you so much for being on the podcast. And I'm sure many of her friends are going to listen to this episode too.
Yeah, yeah, I'm really excited about it. I think everyone's going to really love it. Yazmine is just so wonderfully articulate about the charism, and as I was listening to it prior to this posting, it kept reminding me of the wideness. We've talked a lot about the wideness of the Vincentian family, right? And we're just one small part of it. And we'll talk a little bit about just some of our own end of the year tradition and the next feast coming, because since November, right? Since the miraculous medal, we've just been feasting. We've just been having feast after feast after feast day. But she reminded me of Frederick Ozanam, St. Vincent de Paul. We had done an episode a while back with Tim Williams, who was formation person for the society in the United States. And I always remember, one of my favorite quotes of Frederick Ozanam was when he says, "I would like to embrace the world, with a web of charity," right? That sense that just to embrace the whole world in this circle of charity. And I think she reminded me of that. So that she's part of that. We are part of that circle of Fredericks, that the whole world is just connected in this in this circle of love and of charity and of the charism of Vincent and Louise, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's a
But
great
it
way to
is,
kick off the year for sure.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And speaking of kicking off the year, right? We spent yesterday in retreat, as most Daughters of Charity we know around the
Throughout the
world,
world, yes.
spent in retreat a time for us to reflect on the year that's gone past and the year that's ahead, and to see ourselves we're always thinking about things like that. Like our vows are annual. We look at the year as an opportunity to give thanks to God for, what has happened in the year, but also to do some reflection inside, maybe to make amends for things that we've done that weren't the best, didn't show our best side. Yeah, so it's a beautiful, beautiful day. And today, of course, as we're recording, is the first day of the year. You're going to hear this on the 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the 4th,
Woo, woo, woo.
Oh,
Our feast days, the two of
yeah,
us.
I know. I can't
Elizabeth
believe it.
Ann's.
It's the eve of the feast of Saint Elizabeth Ann Seton. I mean, all those feasts we've been celebrating have been fabulous, but this is our day.
A
This is
particular
our day.
has special meaning to both of us.
Absolutely.
And we have some great episodes about Mother Seton. We had Lisa from the Shrine. We had Sister Betty Ann McNeil, who's a scholar about Mother Seton.
Yeah.
Like great information about her life, not just the like bio stuff, but the heart of it, the spirit of it, and her wisdom. I think it's just great stuff if you want to go back and listen.
Yeah, Elizabeth Ann Seton is just a great saint, a great community saint for us, great American foundress. She's just great, And so to have this day for both of us as Elizabeth Ann's is really fun. I think all these years we've had this podcast now, haven't really thought about this, probably because we weren't on the eve of the feast. And here we are, as you're listening on the eve of the feast. So we ask you to pray for us, pray
Yes.
for our fidelity, our stamina, our courage to continue to live in our vocations and live them well. And so we ask for your prayers on that. But we also have a tradition at the end of the year to continue our consecration, right? To continue that fidelity. So you were going to share a little bit about that.
Yes, this is like one of my favorite things. We do acts of
Yeah.
consecration at different points during the year and special
Yeah.
feast days. And this one it really touches my heart. And it's like a good, hey, like this is what we're about. And this is what we're saying that we want to be and do for the world. So I'll just read this little paragraph, part of it. It says, we consecrate to you our intelligence with its faculties, our hearts with their affections, our bodies and all that we do, and the community with all its works, in order to honor our Lord as the source and model of all charity, and to serve him in the person of the poor. That's just one little part of it. But
yeah, it is beautiful.
Oh gosh, it just gets me.
Yeah. I think that consecrations, not everyone really understands what they are, and not everyone does them, obviously, but they are this opportunity to say we're giving, almost like giving back the gift, right? That we've been gifted with our intelligence, with our affection, with all of those, amazing things about being human beings, and we give it all back to God as a gift back, saying we hope that we've done it well. And we give back to you the fruits of our labor, basically, and ask the Lord to just bless it and help us to stay faithful to it. It's a great way to start the year. It's a great way to end the year, to review how God has been so faithful, and for us to renew our own fidelity. So I really appreciate you reading that. And I think as we share about our charism, about our community feasts, it really enriches me. I think, man, this is really awesome. This is an amazing development in history, and the history of the church. All charisms are, and the Vincentian Charism is one that just, I think, really shows God's faithful love to those who are poor, and to all those who are vulnerable, and that the church continues to call people, men, women, of all walks of life, like Yazmine, who's married, and others, to be of his service, to him and those who are poor in the church, and in whatever way we can be. So, yeah, we're very blessed. Very blessed.
We are, and we're so grateful for this time, and for Yazmine and all of our collaborators, and we're grateful to you, our listeners, for sticking with us and inspiring us, and we always hold you in prayer. So we're just a reminder, as always, that you can find us on our Gmail account, companyofcharity@gmail.com, and Company of Charity Podcast on Instagram. So God bless you guys. Happy 2023, and stick with us throughout the year. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for listening to In the Company of Charity podcast, the podcast by the Daughters of Charity. And I am delighted today to welcome a good friend of the community and a good friend of the Vincentian family, Yazmine Cajuste, and she is with us today. And Yazmine, welcome, and great to have you. Thanks for saying yes to being on the podcast.
Thank you very much for inviting me, Sister Liz. It's a pleasure to share this experience with you.
Yeah. And so we met a long time ago. I think it's been at least 10 years back in Chicago. Tell us what you were doing in Chicago.
Well, Chicago is part of a journey back home. So I was doing my master in educational leadership in Chicago at DePaul University. And soon after, I went back to Haiti. So that's right the moment when we met. But there's been lots of adventures before that. There has been 10 years before that of adventures with the Vincentian family, especially with the Vincentian Mayan youth, the youth branch of the Vincentian family.
Now, for those who are not familiar, the Vincentian family is full of many branches, people from all walks of life, not just the priests and sisters, but lay people and young people. The Ladies of Charity, another example, the Vincent de Paul Society, Vincentian Marian Youth, and we'll kind of get into some of that. But before we kind of dive in there, I want to make sure that we get your origin story, a little bit of your background, where you're from, like how did you meet anyone from the Vincentian family to feel this kind of passion for serving people in need?
So I like to say that I think my international journey was in God's plans from the beginning, because everybody knows me as a Haitian girl. I grew up in Haiti, but what few people know is that I was born in Congo. In Zaire at the time, because my parents were working there as Haitian immigrants, as teachers and nurse respectively. And then so we were born there, started the first year there, and then eventually we moved back to Haiti. And I grew up in Catholic environment, in Catholic schools, was very involved with the Red Cross in Haiti, with the Girl Scout in Haiti. And that's where my journey until I was 17 was. And then the last year of my high school, I had a nun and a good friend of mine who insisted that I join the Vincentian Mayan Youth. So they were so insistent that I couldn't say no anymore. So I said, okay, that's fine. I'll go for 3 months. So I went there for technically 3 months, and I ended up now being there for about 30 years. So that's a bit of 20 years or more, but that's a bit of the story. My connection started with what we called at my school, we called it Mayan Youth, because we didn't insist on the Vincentian dimension of the organization at this time. And eventually I started collaborating with the National Council of the Vincentian Mayan Youth. And that's where I got into the Vincentian spirituality. And from there, it's been an amazing journey, including 10 and 8 years of volunteer work in the International Secretariat in Madrid, 10 years as the international president of the organization, and multiple different forms of collaboration with the Vincentian family.
What was it early on that really touched your heart and inspired you? Because I think everybody has their story about meeting a poor person or helping someone and seeing the difference that they made. What was that for you?
I think many stories, and maybe the stories I'm going to share was not the first chronologically, but I think it's one I've understood years later, and that kind of inspired me and continue to inspire me to never turn around to someone in need. At that time, I cannot even remember the year, but at that time I was a Red Cross volunteer, and I was on duty on a Saturday. And we went to pick up someone who was hurt with a knife, and we had to bring them to the general hospital. But in Haiti, the general hospital has very few means. So when you bring someone who needs attention but who has no family members with them, it's a hassle to get the person taken care of. So we were just done with this, and then we were on our way out from the general hospital. And I saw a man, an old man, probably 50, 55, laying down on the grass, covered with flies and breathing. So I asked the people why he's on the floor, and the answer was, oh, there's no room in the hospital. He's gonna die anyway, so they just let him there to die. So as I was getting close to him to kind of attend him, my colleague said, hey, Central is calling us. We have another call, another emergency. We have to go. So I looked at this man on the floor and I left. And I never thought back about it until probably 5 or 6 years later. And I always go back to that story because I think that's one of the important time of my life where I could have made a difference for someone and I didn't. And I think that often inspired me to always be there for someone in need, even if I cannot solve the situation of this person.
Yeah, I know what a lot of times when people think of Haiti, generally speaking, there's such a great need there. There's so much that has happened to that country and all of that. And so as someone who's from there, like what do you want people to know about Haiti and the people there, and how to help?
It's hard to summarize it. I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about what Haiti is about. I think oftentimes, like we do with many other groups or countries, we reduce the country and the people to their issues. I think I would invite people to discover this other side of Haiti, of people full of love and compassion and devotion. I would them to be able one day to come in Haiti and discover and experience the culture, the beauty of our sites, the richness of our food, and the faith of our people. We've been through a lot. One of the most important things being the earthquake that killed so many people in 2010. We've been through a lot. We are going through a lot right now with insecurity, kidnappings, and financial issues, political issues. And yet we are people who continue to move on. Life goes on, and in the most difficult situation, we find strength in faith, and we find strength in being there for one another as much as we can.
So it sounds like there came a point for you where you were working in your country and being involved with Vincentian Marian Youth, that it just took on a whole different level for you. Because I mean, I can brag about you. I'm sure you wouldn't brag about you, but you've been a lot of places and you've been at the table with some very, very influential and important people to be able to speak about the needs of the world and the complex realities that people face. So what was it like? Where was the switch where it's like, oh, wait, I'm going to be traveling. I'm going to be talking to different people and trying to navigate in different languages. What was that like?
I think it's oftentimes a matter of being open. And I think that's what it was for me in 2003. At that time, the international office in Madrid was looking for a volunteer who spoke French. So I was the national secretary in Haiti, and I received the invite. And I turned it to the National Council. And next thing I knew, they were like, oh, you could do that. And I was like, sure. So we had the sub-director at the time was Father Benjamin Romo from Mexico, but he was living in Rome. He came to visit and was like, yeah, actually, we want you. So I just had no idea where I was going. I was just open to this opportunity. And I think my entire journey has been about this, being open to calls, to invitations, to opportunities to collaborate. And I'm very grateful for that, because that's what allowed me to be in contact with so many people, to leave a piece of my heart in so many countries, and just to be able to see the world definitely from a very global, international perspective, but at the same time, through service, never losing the importance of each encounter and how they transform us and how they lead us to the next step. So I think along the way, I've had great spiritual directors as well. And I think one of them especially taught me to just let providence lead, let trust in this God, and whatever he's doing with my life. And I think that has become a key element of how I journey. I still make plans, and I still know that every time God's gonna mess up with my plans. So I just accept it as it is. I just continue to be myself by making plans and just being welcome when those plans are completely different from what I had in mind. So all this led me to finding my husband, defining my professional journey. And so I'm very grateful for what the Vincentian experience brought to my life, personally and through the encounters with others.
I think a lot of times when people think of St. Vincent and Louise, obviously the natural inclination is to go towards, okay, priesthood and consecrated life and the sisters. And it seems like, wow, okay, but our charism is so much bigger that it really is like the church. It's universal and has all of these different calls and lifestyles and everything. And so maybe it's a good opportunity for you to speak to, how does that look for you as a wife and mother? And, you know, and here you also have this other aspect of the call within a call, so to speak.
Sure. I think I have to admit that I never imagined myself married. I think everybody saw in me a future nun, a religious person, a sister. And I've explored that path for a long way and for a long time. But I think when I met my husband, I knew that my call was to marriage. So I always say my call is not to marriage. I think my call is to marriage with that man. I don't think I would like to repeat it with another man. And I just think that when I met him, I knew there was an harmony between us, a complementary way of thinking and seeing things that made it possible for me to consider a marriage from that perspective. So I think, I don't know what is the call within the call for me. If it was my Vincentian call and then marriage came part of it, I'd like to think that my marriage is the most important, and that what has led my life throughout the years continue to express itself in a different way in marriage. For instance, as a married woman, I'm married to an agronomist who doesn't live every day with us because he has to go back and forth in the countryside. So my priority in terms of time needs to be always my son, who's 6 years old. And so this needs to be the priority. Now, the question for me is, within this priority, how I continue to serve. I'm blessed enough because I'm working with the Vincentian Family. So I continue to feel that my professional life is a continued service, even if I get benefits from it. And I think the other ways also that I'm discovering in the latest year, the situation in Haiti have changed a lot, and the pandemic. So I've developed a style of life that is very reclusive, if you want. I go out very little. I stay home. I take care of my family. I face family situations and so on. But what I'm discovering is that even within the situation, God is always putting people on my way so I can continue to serve. So when I moved to my house, the house I'm living in now for 4 years ago, I ended up being in St. Vincent de Paul Parish, which is not a Vincentian parish, but it has the name of St. Vincent de Paul. So I've slowly discovered punctual way in which I can support the parish in their service through my Vincentian experience, my Vincentian knowledge. And then along the way, I always find people that can benefit from what I have to offer. Either it's my time, my resources, my experience, my international experience. So I think marriage can oftentimes, in certain environment in particularly, and I'm thinking especially of the US, marriage can bring someone to focus exclusively on your family. And maybe because I was already on a Vincentian journey of openness to service to others, my experience of marriage is very particular, I would say, but it's an experience where, without neglecting what matters most, which is the vocation in which God has placed me, also being open to every opportunity that is given to serve. And when you cannot do anything about the person's situation, at least be this person to whom they can talk, who can listen, who can give an advice. And I think this is a way of service that is open to everyone. I do miss the opportunity of being everywhere in Haiti or everywhere in the world serving the poor. But I also acknowledge that in my current circumstances, this is not the call for me. So it will come at another time.
Well, I think that what a great training ground for you for marriage to be working in this charism self-sacrifice and trying to learn from the other person, and seeing things through the eyes of faith, trusting in providence. I mean, isn't that what marriage and family and life is about? To say, okay, it's not all about me and what I want or what my plans are, but to incorporate other people into your heart and into your spirit. I think that's beautiful.
It
So-
is,
Go ahead.
and it's an adventure, really. I often say that I feel I'm being educated by my son as much as I'm educating him, because in many ways he reflects behaviors that I have, and that helps me be more aware of my attitude towards him and towards other people. I don't know. I think it's just I think it's being open, really, in daily life of prayer, that keeps your eyes open to the different multiple diverse ways in which God is talking to you and showing the way. And that's what I'm trying to live. At least I mess up a few times, and that's okay. But
Yes.
that's my journey.
You know, one of the things I was thinking about as you were talking, it just reminds me of the history of our own charism of Vincent and Louise. And it wasn't just them, it was the people of the parish. It was, you know, the rich and famous and the influential people, but it was also these different key players, kings and queens, and the people in the neighborhood. And I feel like what a great reflection that we can all work together for this sort of common goal of alleviating the great needs that are out there. And so you have this priority of being married and family life, but you also see that we're in this common humanity together.
Definitely. You know, I live in Haiti, and Haiti has multiple problems and many people dying of hunger and struggling just for daily life. But I also keep in mind other realities that are as dire in other parts of the world. My work, for instance, with the Family and Homeless Alliance, opens my eyes to the plight of displaced people, refugees, street people, slum dwellers. And these are realities I'm faced continuously in my work, from a distance, if you want, but also from a very personal perspective, because we get to know people, and directly we know their stories, we know their journey, we know how the work that we're doing as the Family and Homeless Alliance, as a Vincentian family, makes a difference in their lives. So sometimes you do feel powerless. And I had to admit this, and even in my own country, the situation we're trying now, we really don't know where it's gonna take us, and there's this sense of powerless, but it's a powerlessness that can become humility, acknowledging that you're not the answer, you're part of the answer, and it's just you can live a life that is meaningful to God, that is at the service of others, then you've done your part. And even if you die without seeing any change, the life you've lived can make a difference for others. So I like to go back often to this passage of the gospel that has been talking to me throughout the years. And the first time it called my attention was when I was living in Spain around 2010, and I was asked to write a reflection. And the last piece of the reflection was about what part of the gospel speaks to your heart. And at that time, from different reasons, I came across this passage of the multiplication of the bread, where Jesus tells his disciple, give them yourself, give them food yourself. So at that time, that passage spoke a lot to my heart, and I reflected a lot on it. And then as I was coming back to Haiti, it came back on the table as well, because I was going to be in charge of a feeding program for schools. And today, in the very difficult inflation situation that the country is facing, people's circumstances are continuously calling me that give them food yourself. So that's an invitation I'm trying to answer to, but at the same time, acknowledging that I'm not doing enough, not in the sense that I'm not giving enough, but in the sense that then I would love to see myself, how, I don't know, when, I don't know, but I would love to see myself engage in a fight for justice so people don't need me to be fed, that they can provide for themselves. And I think for us as a Vincentian family, it's always a challenge. You can definitely solve the issues at hand, but you can work also at the same time simultaneously so that you don't have more people coming to you needing food, health services, and being able to be autonomous and provide for themselves and their families. So it's an invitation that's continuously there for me. It takes different forms of answers in different circumstances in front of different people, but definitely the bottom of it is seeing how we can also make this justice become a reality for the people that come to us.
You mentioned many people may not be familiar with the Family Homeless Alliance and the 13 Houses projects, which you've been intimately involved in over the years. So can you say a little bit about that and maybe a couple stories from your experience or what you've heard of how that's been implemented over the last few years?
Sure. The Family Homeless Alliance is FHA, to say short, is a project that the Vincentian Family started in 2017. At this time, we were celebrating the 300th anniversary of the Charism. And the question was, how can we celebrate with those we serve? And that's how the idea of the Family Homeless Alliance came about, because homelessness continues to be one of the key issues in the world. And if you think seriously about it, you will see that it's connected to almost all the SDG, the Sustainable Development Goals. So addressing homelessness really helps helps the world, the global politicians and the global world get closer to a better world. So we focus on that, and we're looking at homelessness in its different forms: refugees, displaced people, internally displaced people, people living on the streets, people living in inadequate housing, and all those forms of homelessness are present almost in every society. So how we addressing this, we do this at different levels. We do this through providing projects, supporting projects, and you mentioned the 13 Houses campaign, which is a campaign that aims at providing 10,000 houses or houses to 10,000 people, if not houses, services, so they can move out of homelessness. We also have different forms of advocacy we're doing with the representatives of the Vincentian Family at the UN, with different other organisms like the Institute for Global Homelessness. So these, we do understand that our action cannot, that's a bit what I was saying earlier, our action cannot focus only on the local individual response, but we also need to act globally in advocacy to make sure that a new society can emerge, a new way of functioning. The factors that are provoking homelessness can be destroyed or mitigated at least. So we're working at different levels. And I think what I find unique about the FHA, the Family Homeless Alliance, is that we're a small team. We're 6 team members. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing the amount of work that is being done on by the Vincentian Family with our support. But the reason for that is that we don't do anything directly. We really rely on the network, the existing networks within the Vincentian Family. So we rely on our local groups, our local communities, our local associations of the Vincentian Family to conceive a project, think about it, seeing the reality, searching for a response to what they see, and then we can help them either with setting this up as a project, either with financial support where needed, but all comes from the ground and all is done by the ground. And I think that's the richness of the Family Homeless Alliance. And that's why the 13 Houses campaign, who launched 4 years ago, now has so many projects in many parts of the world, about 60 projects in about 45 countries. And that's about, we're very close to reach the 10,000 people attended and life transformed that we set ourselves to do in the 3 to 5 year period. So that's what I'm involved with, and it's been a learning journey, because it's something new, and we're shaping it as we go, as we listen to the needs of the Vincentian family. We try to answer to those needs so that they themselves can serve better in the different places where they are.
This is tangential that a good friend of mine, Sister Francelli, who I think you know,
Yes.
has been the beneficiary of that in working with some houses in Guatemala, who the people were affected by that explosion, that so many people died and lost their homes and livelihoods because of that. And
yeah, and it's very interesting because the 13 Houses campaign can be as big as you wish and as small as you can. So if I think about the Burkina Faso project of the 13 Houses, they just decided they were going to help one widow with 2 kids. And that's it. They repaired her house. Now she has her house, her small business, and her kids going to school. And you mentioned Guatemala, or I could say Peru, where the 13 Houses project is involving 30 families, an entire community, $100,000. So really the 13 Houses is a concept. It's a concept idea. The form and the importance of the project in each places depends on what the Vincentian family chooses to do. But the truth is that we're receiving lots of stories of how people's life is being transformed just because we provided a home, or we facilitated a service like our street children service in Kitale in Kenya, or just because we provided the small amount of funds that was necessary, not only to serve someone, a family, an individual, but also to build capacity for the Vincentian family. So in many places, the Vincentian family is learning to do things better together because they had the opportunity offered by the Family Homeless Alliance and the 13 Houses campaign. So it's just great to be part of this journey. Like in my personal life, we don't know where this journey will take us. We don't know what's next, but as long as we identify the needs and we find ways to answer, we'll continue to provide this support to the global Vincentian family.
I know you mentioned earlier that it can seem very overwhelming and even depressing, and you can go into despair when you see the needs of the world and how many people are suffering and the dire poverty and that exists and the struggles that people are facing. But I just love that what you're talking about brings so much hope, because you can say, well, what, 10,000 people, that's like nothing, right? That's a drop in the bucket of how many people are suffering in this world. But what you're bringing out of, we're working together, we're person to person, and it's transformative, even if it's not solving all the world's problems at one time. You're starting with this small seed that can eventually grow and perhaps be a model that can work in a lot of different places. And what a great source of hope for that.
Definitely. And as you mentioned earlier as well, working with the Vincentian Homeless Alliance is teaching me how my role is important, but most importantly is all this network that makes things happen. So it's really not a one-person job. It's really not a one organization job. It's really each of us bringing what we have best to provoke change, to transform lives. And I think that's what is very inspiring about the work we're doing. It's we as individual, or we as a FHA team could disappear tomorrow, but this work can go on and on for many years, and that's what matters really. There's this prayer of Oscar Romero. I don't know if you heard about it, A Step Along the Way. I discovered some 2 or 3 years ago, and since then I have it in my office. That where it insists on the fact that we're just part of a chain. We're just part of something bigger than us. We're not the master. We're just builders, and the work, the kingdom is beyond us. So we're just doing our little piece, and relying on that God will bring fruit to the efforts that we're doing, and that even if we don't see the results in this life, but what we're doing is not lost. And I think that is very inspiring and keeps us going at the difficult times.
Well, I do think that's a great place to stop for today. I feel like we could just go on, and I hope we can have you on again, just to be able to hear some more of this wisdom. And I think the key is really it's not just here today, but there's so many places going on in the world. But at the same time, like, God is with us, and we know that we can't do it alone. But trusting in God's providence is what's going to get us through any of these challenges that we face. It's that we do it together.
Amen.
Amen. Well, thank you so much, Yazmine. This has been a delightful experience, and I hope we can have you on again sometime soon.
Thank you for the invitation. It was nice sharing with you.